mangrove is a shrub or a small tree that grows in coastal, saline, or brackish water. The term is also used for tropical coastal vegetation consisting of such species. Mangroves occur worldwide in the tropics and subtropics, mainly between latitudes 25 degrees north and 25 degrees south. The total mangrove forest area of the world in 2000 was 137,800 square kilometers, spanning 118 countries and territories. Home to an incredible array of species, mangroves are biodiversity hotspots. They provide nesting and breeding habitat for fish and shellfish, migratory birds, and the sea turtles. An estimated 80% of the global fish catch relies on the mangrove forests, either directly or indirectly. Mangroves are salt-tolerant trees, also called halophytes, and are adapted to life in harsh coastal conditions. They contain a complex salt filtration system and complex root system to cope with saltwater immersion and wave action. They are adapted to the low oxygen conditions of waterlogged mud. Although they are regarded as one of the most important ecosystems, mangrove forests are among the most threatened habitats in the world, and mangrove loss is rampant across the globe. In just the last decade, at least 35% of the world's mangroves have been destroyed. Importance and benefits of mangroves. Mangrove ecosystem provide a multitude of goods and services for people, including provision of food and clean water, influence climate regulation, soil composition, and disaster risk reduction, and recreational and spiritual space. Mangroves protect coastal areas and communities from hurricanes, tsunamis, flooding, and erosion. Mangroves are unique because they are a gift of the tides along low-lying tropical and occasionally subtropical coastal areas, along the margins of estuaries, deltas, coastal lagoons, and brackish tidal waters in general. Mangroves can reduce up to 66% of wave height, reducing coastal erosion and flood risk. Mangroves safeguard coral reefs from sedimentation. Mangroves act as a huge carbon stores. Vast quantities of carbon are tied up both in living trees of the mangrove forest and in their rich soils. Mangrove forests move carbon dioxide from the atmosphere into long-term storage in greater quantities than other forests, making them among the planet's best carbon scrubbers, according to NASA-led study based on satellite data. Mangroves serves as marine nurseries for many species and are hugely important habitat for biodiversity and wildlife. Mangroves are among the world's most productive fishing grounds, yielding vast numbers of fish, crabs, shrimps, and mollusks. Tens of millions of people rely on such fisheries, and without them would lose their primary source of protein, work, or income. Mangroves offer great opportunities for ecotourism and recreation through wildlife viewing, bird watching, and other recreational activities such as kayaking and boat tours. Under the strictest guidelines, there are roughly 54 true species of mangroves around the world, belonging to 16 different families. However, because distinguishing a mangrove species is based upon physical and ecological traits rather than family lineage, scientists often differ in what they consider to be true mangrove. There are 39 species in the Philippines, true mangroves belonging to mangroves genera. As an STS student, to protect and preserve mangrove, first, look for sustainable alternatives to eating farm shrimp from mangrove areas. Second, find local conservation and government organizations in your area that are working to conserve mangrove forests and support them. Remember, conservation of mangrove ecosystems is more than just planting new trees. We must plant mangrove trees because mangroves are the first line of defense for coastal communities. They stabilize shorelines by slowing erosion and provide natural barriers protecting coastal communities from increased storm surge, flooding, and hurricanes. Without mangroves, certain areas may provide early evidence of serious ecological threats, including rising seawater levels, excess water salinity, overfishing, and pollution. What can we as individuals do to help slow the loss of biodiversity? Since consumption of resources is a root cause of biodiversity loss, we can consume less and be more mindful about what we consume. We need to leverage our purchasing power to help protect biodiversity by consuming products that do not harm the environment.
Save mangroves and save the world. Mangroves a climate change solution. Biodiversity is the way, so don't let nature go astray.